All right. So I'm here today with voice actor Peter Jessop, best known for his roles as Paladin Dance in Fallout 4, Resident Evil HD Remastered. He played Albert Wesker, and he also played in Skyrim as Miraak or Miraak. I don't know.
Miraak, yeah.
Miraak. Okay. So he's also the voice in Destiny 2, the voice of the Exo male, right?
Well, now actually all the male player characters, I'm doing the voice for all of them.
Wow,
They
really,
paired everything down. It's me and Zara Fazal.
Wow,
She's doing the
really
female
cool.
voices, yeah.
So I want to dive into your personal life a little, if that's all right with you. Like,
sure. Yeah, go ahead.
You were an actor before you got into those voiceovers, and
Yes.
You were always into theater. Like, how did you go into the direction of voice acting?
I was in an accident and I damaged my face and I couldn't do, anything on camera for several years.
Oh, wow.
And I had always done voiceover. So I just kind of, buckled down and just focused on voiceover. And
well,
by the time my face had healed up, I was back. I was already working as a voice actor. I'm like, it's a good gig. I'm not gonna. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So did you ever go back to acting, or are you strictly like a voiceover artist?
Well, I'm gonna correct you on one thing, because voice acting is still acting.
Yeah, that is true.
A lot of people say that, oh, do you do acting too? Like, I do acting all the time. Yeah, I did on sort of a fluke. Got an audition for the show SEAL Team.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Like, that is so cool as a commander.
Yeah, and I ended up doing 4 episodes. Was not something I planned really, but it was a lot of fun. And it's a great cast, and it was a great crew, and the directors were amazing. And it was, it was kind of fun to get back in front of a camera for a little bit. But
that is awesome. Like, I honestly think you, like, I cannot picture you as anything else but like this stern commander, because you play it so well.
Yeah.
So what I want to ask you is how long have you worked in the industry, basically? Because I know you have done it since like the 1980s, 1990s.
Yeah, I got my SAG card in 89. So I've been doing it for a little over 30 years now.
Wow, that's a long time. Do you ever get more experience with each project and learn something new?
Oh, yeah. You learn, well, I don't know if everybody does. I try to learn something from everything I work on, any kind of project, if there's something different about it. You always need to try and, grow and expand a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. And as for warming up your voice, do you just go in and record? But I assume you warm up your voice before each recording.
Oh, yeah. No, you have to. It depends on what you're doing too. If I want to have a low gravelly voice, I'll drink a couple of cups of coffee and I won't do any vocal exercises, and I can go in and I can sound like that. But if you want to sound, if you want to be able to really use your voice as an instrument, one of the tricks in Los Angeles is everything is so far away you have to drive.
Oh.
So you can sing in your car and nobody else can hear you.
That's a nice vocal warm-up place, I would think.
Yeah. So
is it like the same, like as a musician, like the type of warm-up, or is it just like you said, just like depends on what you do, just a cup of coffee, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to be using your voice for a long period of time, like when we do video game sessions, they're usually 4 hours. There's sometimes a lot of projection involved. You've got to yell, you've got to do this, you got to do that. So you don't want to wear your voice out. So it's always helpful to warm up.
That is true. So what do you love about voice acting, and is there anything you dislike about it?
What do I love about voice acting is that there's a great range of stuff you can do. You know, I was a talking beaver on a show once,
That is
you know,
awesome.
with a lisp, and it was hilarious and a lot of fun. Um, you know, I'm British on a lot of stuff, which I suppose I could do that on camera as opposed, as well,
Yeah.
but you know, but I couldn't be a beaver.
Yeah.
So, that's the joy of voiceover, is there's a lot broader uh sort of availability of cool characters you can play.
Yeah, that is real, and you do a lot of characters, so
Yeah.
I would like to know, beyond, like you said, you do with British accent, with lisps, and I want to know, like, do you know your script before you do the character? Like, do they give it a few days before, or do you just walk into the studio and they're like, here you go?
It depends on the project. A lot of time with video games, you have no idea, and you walk in and they project your lines on a screen and they give you a little bit of background about where you're saying it and who you're saying it to. But the rest of it's really sort of up to you to try and
Wow.
guess what your situation is. And but with animation, yeah, you usually get your script ahead of time so you can read through it. You don't have to memorize it because it's voiceover, so you can sit there and you can read it. But it helps a lot to be able to prepare when you're making decisions about motivation or your character's interests, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. So,
Yeah.
does it ever make you nervous, like in the video game industry, getting your material on the day of recording and having that little time to prepare?
I'm so used to it at this point. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
It's voiceover as a craft is about 90% reading comprehension.
Yeah. So you got to read all the time.
So if you're you know keeping your reading chops up, then you should be fine. And it's being recorded. If you mess up a line, oops, I messed it up, let me do it again, and you do it again.
Oh, yeah.
And they cut that one out. And that's what editors are great at, and engineers. So
That's really interesting to know.
yeah.
And with that said, with that little time, like, how do you get into character? Like, once you kind of get the feeling of the character?
um that is a good question. I think a lot of the character development for the stuff that I've done is you try to figure out how would I react in the situation where this character is. And if it's in a different dialect, if you're doing it with a British accent, or if you're German, or if you're, Norwegian, or some generic Nordic voice like Miraak in Skyrim,
Yeah, that
they
was
did not want
interesting.
they did not want any specific Nordic accent. They said, just make it sound Viking.
Viking. Oh.
Okay. So I sort of like hodgepodged a little bit of a Danish accent and a Norwegian accent, and but
That
again,
was really cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, I loved, like, my, like, I was playing a Fallout, and I was like, hey, this sounds a lot like Miraak, and I did research, and I'm like, well, I'll be damned,
Yep.
like, it's the same voice actor. It
Yep.
was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
On that note, like, as a gamer, have you played any of the Elder Scrolls games?
Oh yeah, no, I played them all.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's not true. That's not true. I started with
Morrowind.
Morrowind,
Yeah, I also
and
started
then
with
played
Morrowind.
Oblivion, and then played Skyrim. And I did Elder Scrolls Online for a while, and it was a lot of fun. But I didn't really have anyone to play with, so it got kind of tedious because
Yeah, everyone's against you.
well, no, you're just doing the same quests over and over again. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's
I gotta go down and
tedious.
collect 10 eggs. Ooh, and,
Like 10 eggs.
Well, they're some sort of weird sea monster eggs, but you still gotta,
Gosh, I never played online, like the Elder Scrolls series. I don't know. I'm more of like an offline player and storyline person. So
Yeah,
did
me
you
too.
know you were gonna be in Skyrim? Like, was there any hints in the script?
Originally, no. That was
Wow.
when they started doing the DLC stuff. it came in and I read for it, and I didn't know what it was during the audition because they don't tell you the name of the game.
Wow.
And I get to the session and I see the line, "So you killed Alduin." I'm like, "Oh,
Oh my
Skyrim.
gosh. It's like
It's Skyrim."
it's Skyrim.
So
Like, were you
yeah,
excited to find out that you were working in Skyrim?
yeah, that was a lot of fun. And Fallout
Wow.
4 even more because, again, they don't tell you ahead of time
Oh
what
my
game you're working
gosh.
on. So I get into the booth and I'm looking at my lines and it says, "Watch out, there's a group of ferals over there." I'm like, "Oh, Fallout."
Barrels, like Fallout.
I'm like, "Fallout, this is great." And like, "Oh, you know Fallout?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Who doesn't know Fallout
Yeah.
at this point?
Yeah.
It's really cool. You know, Fallout 4 is actually where I got to like hear your voice more. I mean, who doesn't want to wander the Commonwealth with like a paladin by their side? I mean, that's a wise choice.
Oh, he's a super tank. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
he
it's
is. That's OP. So
Paladin Dance is so OP.
he's
Yes.
so OP. Like usually I just like I do like I would shoot at something and Dance would just go and I'll just sit back and wait for
Yeah.
him to
Let him tear it up.
let him
Yeah.
tear it up, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your opinion on Paladin Dance?
I loved Paladin Dance. I thought Paladin
Same.
Dance was a great character. Uh, and of course, they didn't tell me the storyline or anything about
Oh,
him
the
as we're going.
storyline was the best. Like,
So when I found out he was a synth was when you found out he was a synth.
oh my gosh.
No idea. Like, oh, really? He's a synth. Hmm.
That must have been
Okay.
like super
Oh
interesting. Like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, like a synth.
Like,
So
okay, that's gonna cause a crisis of conscience.
it
He
is.
hates synths. So
Yeah,
yeah.
so considering all things like Dance's past, like he grew up in the ruins and he lived from scrap day to day. And
Yeah.
wasn't the extensive vocabulary he had kind of like a bit odd or a dead giveaway for him to be a synth?
I don't know. I think part of it is you get into brotherhood training and you work your way up to paladin. You got to be pretty smart.
Yeah, that's true.
He didn't start out as a paladin. He started out as a squire and
Yeah,
had to
that
work his way
yeah.
up. So if you get to paladin at his age, because what is the character, probably 29 maybe
I
tops.
think like 30s, mid 30s, he looks like
Yeah.
that kind of.
And so he's a pretty sharp cookie. And I
He
think
is.
that having a good vocabulary, and it's a very specific vocabulary because he's got a
It
very
is.
military vocabulary. He understands how things work. I think that was just a survival mechanism for him to be able to, fit into the brotherhood properly.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of like
Yeah.
learning. So what was your favorite part in voicing him? I mean, basically, it feels like I'm talking to Paladin Dance right now. I mean, this is the
Well,
dance voice.
I basically used my own voice for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which I don't normally do. Actually, I usually do a character of some kind.
it fits so perfectly, like the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's great. So do you ever browse through Paladin Dance's fan art or something, especially those outstanding memes?
I don't. I don't
No?
spend a lot of time on social media. I've got kids,
Yeah,
so
same.
they do that. And well, my kids are adult kids now, but they're but they so that's sort of their thing. But no, I mean, people have shown me the Buzz Lightyear Paladin Dance,
Oh, that one is
skin,
legendary.
which is very funny.
It is.
Because I also sound like Tim Allen, who does the voice of Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, and like the
Mm.
power armor suit, I mean, that is a perfect thing.
It was a great match, so that was very funny. But no, I don't really see fan. I don't know where you would go to see fan art. People post it, I'm sure, on like Reddit or something, but I've never really been on
Yeah.
those kind of
Sometimes it
boards.
just pops up like spontaneously.
Yeah.
I laughed at a couple of them, to be honest, but
Yeah.
it's awesome. And like another question I would like to ask about Fallout 4 is like in the whole game, what was your favorite thing? Like of Fallout 4
As a player?
as a player? Yeah.
I don't know. It was one of those games that had a lot of really good, satisfying moments.
That is true.
You know, I think I've completely drawn a blank on the character's name. Keith Farley played him. The guy you're tracking down who took Sean.
Oh, right. Kellogg.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah, that one just
that was a big one. That was a big one.
That just evaporated from my brain. I apologize. Yeah. So when you track down Kellogg, and I have so enjoyed, and Keith's a good friend of mine. I have so enjoyed killing Kellogg in, you know, every playthrough. The one where you get the mini nuke and you just blow him to bits before he even gets to start talking.
Oh yeah, that is fun.
You know, that's the fun one.
Be like, I'm not even gonna talk to you. I'm gonna blast you.
Yeah, just like,
how dare you take my son?
Yeah, mini nuke just flies across the room, blows up, kills everybody. But yeah, so that's always, I think, probably my favorite part is just getting rid of Kellogg.
Yeah. That is awesome. Also, like in Fallout, your acting with Alder Maxon, that scene was pretty epic. Like, as a player, what would you have chosen? Like the options?
Gosh, because there are a couple of different ones. You mean the one with Paladin Dance and Maxon at the end?
Yeah, at the way end, where he discovers like the player kind of like, you know, ushered dances like out, and for him to like have a normal life, but tell Maxon he's dead or something.
I always try and save Paladin Dance.
Of course, it's like it's just a have to.
We recorded an option where you can take over the Brotherhood.
Yeah, there's actually a mod for it. Yeah,
and you can install Paladin Dance as the head of the Brotherhood. You could get rid of Maxon altogether.
Yeah.
But I think the game developers, and I think wisely, decided there's no way they're going to follow this guy knowing that he's a synth.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen. So, the only regret I have about, you know, different playthroughs, and I played through a couple of times now, is when you choose not to go with the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Paladin Dance turns into a non-responsive NPC.
Oh, but that's just natural, considering he's all about the Brotherhood.
Right, but you know, he can be your companion. You can run around and do all kinds of stuff with him as long as you don't, you know. But as soon as the Brotherhood's gone, poof, he's like, "Hello, how are you?"
Oh yeah, that is a little flaw in the development. Yeah,
you know, and it's like, nah, come on, let's go, let's go blow some stuff up.
Yeah. So on that note, which character did you enjoy voicing amongst all of them? You know, because you have voiced so many. Did you find any of them difficult?
That's a good question. Difficult? None of them have been particularly difficult. No.
Or more like challenging.
The challenges are fun. I mean, that's, you know, that's part of what makes the job interesting. Is it's like, how am I going to handle this part? So I don't know that any of them have been more difficult than any others. I think the most fun, the best of any of the video game characters I've done, Dance has the greatest character development.
He has, like, his storyline is just excellent.
Yeah, they went really deep.
Was there any other character that you voiced that had that same kind of, you know, how would I say, strength?
Well, I played the Vision on the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and we had started to explore his character arc. And really, it's funny because I get cast as a lot of synthetic life forms. They're trying to find their humanity.
Even Dance.
You know, Dance, the Vision. I voiced Bucket, the robot in Evolve.
Yeah.
I was Sovereign, the sentient spaceship
Yeah,
AI.
in
I've
Mass
been
Effect.
Brainiac, Brainiac, the walking computer. But it's yeah, I think probably Dance was the most fun. There, when we did Resident Evil and that was back in 2002 when we
Yeah,
did the
that was pretty
and
big.
it's they call it the remake, but really it
It
was the
was it
first
was the first one.
uh and it was the first really cinematic video game.
It
We
really
forget.
puts Yeah, it really put the bar for video game development up here. It
Yeah.
set the standard.
Yeah. They had scenes with people actually acting in them, which they hadn't done.
It
And
was
they're,
something completely new.
yeah. And it was, now, of course, every game has that.
Yeah.
Even the run and gun stuff. They have to, we got to get a cutscene in there.
But that game was so iconic.
Yeah.
Like it was literally the game to play. Like even now, people still talk about it.
Yeah. It still freaks me out. I mean, and I had to borrow a GameCube from somebody to play it because I didn't have one when it came out. And honestly, I never really got the controls of the game down, so I didn't get very far. But they didn't tell me I was the bad guy.
That was probably the most interesting part.
Yeah, I just thought I'm the team leader. So, I'm being Mr. Team Leader guy. And then gradually toward the end of the recording process, and we probably did, I don't know, 4 or 5 sessions. When I'm blackmailing Barry and I'm doing this and then there's the big reveal in the lab. I was like, oh, okay.
Now you're the bad guy.
I'm the bad guy.
That must have been quite a twist for you.
It was fun. And, that was kind of cool.
But that is what's amazing. I think maybe if you knew beforehand,
I might have tipped my hand a little bit. Yeah.
Yes.
So
being the surprise, be like, oh, I'm supposed to be the bad guy. It's like,
yeah.
I think that really got the voice acting so good because you also found out when we found out. It's like
exactly. Well, it's like the same thing with Paladin Dance being a synth. I didn't know he was a synth until suddenly they tell me, oh,
it's awesome. It's great. So speaking of Resident Evil, what was it like working with a Japanese team, considering the language barrier?
It was fun. We had interpreters there. The director spoke English. And you said you don't want stories that I've told a million times, but this is still one of my favorite stories. There was one line in particular that I did not understand. And it's when Wesker says, "Don't be a hard dog to keep under the porch, Barry."
That is an odd line.
And I'm like, what does that mean? And I went out to talk to the director. He's like, no, it's a very common American phrase. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've never heard that before. But basically it means, don't fight me trying to control you. Is basically what it means.
That is very, very odd. Do you think maybe it's like a lost in translation kind of thing?
It was 100% lost in translation. And so, a lot of the dialogue was, because it was all translated by native Japanese speakers who had learned English.
Oh, I know how that goes. Considering I live in China, I 100% know how that goes.
And there wasn't an American team on the other end of it to polish it
or revise it,
right, to make it sound more American. And so it there were some pretty cumbersome phraseology in a lot of the lines. That's your job as an actor, is to try and make them sound as normal as possible. So that's what we did.
Didn't you ever try to correct the phrase or anything, or just
once in a while
say it as it is?
Once in a while I would say it in the correct American order. Yeah. Accidentally. Yeah. I mean, no, you got to say it the other way. I'm like, oh, well, just because we're here in California, we say it this way.
So they let it slide.
So sometimes they'd let it slide. Yeah.
So playing Albert Wesker, did that open a lot of doors for you, I would say? Because that was pretty much a big role for you.
It was, and it wasn't. It was, the thing too is, we recorded it and then it came out almost a year later. So we
Wow.
recorded that in 2001. And I was already working pretty steadily at that point, doing commercials and things like that. That's been my main sort of career focus, is doing that sort of stuff. And the interactive stuff and the animated stuff has been kind of hit and miss, over the years. Just if there's a specific project that I really, really was interested to get in on, that was sort of the deal.
Oh, yeah.
But when we did, man, my memory is shot today. I'm sorry.
I'm getting all the difficult questions here.
Well, it's the name of the game now. It's the Fall of Man.
I also
it was the launch. It was the launch title for the PS3. It was the
I don't play PS, so I wouldn't even.
Yeah.
Know. I'm strictly like a PC person.
That was like my first companion character was on that game, and I'm the player character's got this buddy, this British lieutenant, and I got to be a British lieutenant and give the player character shit the whole time, and it was a lot of fun.
So how does your British voice sound? I'm curious.
Well, it depends on what we're doing. I mean, for the British lieutenant, for Cartwright, he's British military in the 1940s, so it's going to be very sort of clipped, very, very specific and very precise, because that's how they spoke at that point.
That is pretty cool.
But there are so many. The thing about England is that they can tell where you're from.
They can. They really
can. The
can.
minute you open your mouth, they're like, "Oh, are you from West Northampton?" And like, "Yes, I am." Because they can
Yorkshire
tell.
or Liverpool.
Right. They know exactly what region of the country you're from.
It's amazing.
Because they've all got their own sort of specific ways of talking. Yeah. So, I've had to learn how to imitate a lot of those, which has been fun.
That is fun.
Yeah. So, Resistance. It was called Resistance.
Resistance.
Fall of Man. Yes.
Oh, you got it.
That was the game.
Right.
I knew it would come to me. I'm getting old. That's what's happening.
That's what's happening. So which character did you enjoy like voicing the most besides Paladin Dance, I would say?
Besides Paladin Dance. I don't know. I mean, I really loved playing the Vision. That was a very cool character.
Yeah. And like it was by Marvel Studios itself, right?
Right. That was actually it's the only Marvel only production that was ever done.
The animated series.
Of anything.
Wow.
That was their only, because before that they had been involved with Warner Brothers, and they went solo.
So that was pretty much like the first.
It was going to be the start of their own Marvel franchise as Marvel Studios.
That's pretty huge.
Yeah, and they did season 1, and then they introduced my character in season 2, and then Disney bought Marvel.
Oh my gosh.
And decided it was time to match the show to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And
then it just went out the door.
Yeah, and and the Vision that I was doing was American.
Yeah, I saw that. You're like Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It was pretty cool, It
was great. It was a canon show. They followed the comic books. Everybody was doing.
It was on point. It was really. It was amazing. Yeah. So what's your favorite line ever? Like, would you say it's the Albert Wesker one you said?
It would be a hard dog to keep under the porch. Probably.
That is
probably.
I still can't get over it, because maybe because I can relate to a certain point. I mean, living in China, there are so many things you find between the language barriers of people, Sometimes they say something, you're like, I'm not sure that's how it's supposed to go, but I'll fly with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was it like playing as Albert Wesker? like this strict commander. Like, have you always played like this commander type? Because it seems like in every like series or game, you basically get commander.
Well, I think part of that's because of the voice.
Yeah, the voice is like it's stern yet calm. I don't know how to
Right.
say it. Like it's
Well,
unique.
I had it described to me once. Andrea Romano, who was the voice director at Warner Brothers for years and years, said to me, she said, your voice prints very well.
Yeah.
So there's a quality to the sound of my voice that records very well. It really comes through. And I don't know if it's just the resonance or what it is. Some people, you can tape them and they sound entirely different than they do in person.
Yeah, but your voice is just,
yeah,
it's just
so
perfect.
it's really kind of out there. It's there.
Yeah, it's there. You just have it.
Yeah. So that's, it's a great gift.
It is. It is.
But yeah, you can get put in a box. And although honestly, I do. I play a lot of, I was like Colonel Burton in the Command and Conquer.
Yeah, and like the SEAL team, the commander,
And doing
Dance
SEAL
is
team.
somewhat
Yeah.
of a commander. Albert Wesker
Yeah.
is like a commander.
Yeah. So,
Commander
the fun
Jessop.
part is the Fallout 4 team, if you go to when you go to the Cambridge police station, we're actually all friends in real life.
Wow, really?
And I didn't know that they were playing these characters.
And so when you were all like your own little team, it's like,
right, because
oh
you're
my
in there by
gosh.
yourself. You're in there by yourself. And I'm looking it up. I'm like, oh, that's Jan. Oh, that's No Sure. Oh, well,
that is awesome.
Yeah. So
do you think maybe the studio knew that you guys were friends and kind of wanted it like
no.
the inside thing?
Nope.
Just purely
I think
coincidence.
it just happened that way. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I'm also friends with Courtney, who was the female.
Oh,
player
I love
voice.
her. She's also such an amazing voice actress.
No, she's beyond amazing. Yeah, she's terrific.
I think I first got to know her in the Vampire the Masquerade series where she played Damsel. Yeah, that that was pretty amazing.
That was good. Yeah, she was also in was it Knights of the Old Republic?
Yeah, she's been in a lot of things.
She's been in so many things. Yeah. And she's one of the best people you'll ever meet too. Yeah. I'm actually doing a project right now, an animated show that I'm trying to get produced.
That's your show, New Wave, right?
That's New Wave. And Courtney is in it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that is super.
We've got Courtney in it. We've got for gamer fans, Carolina Rabassa, who is Sombra in Overwatch.
That's really awesome.
We've got Kari Walgren. We've got Abby Trott and Sharon Mutu from Carmen Sandiego. We've got Todd Stashwick.
That is quite an interesting team you've got there.
Yeah, it's a great, great cast. And yeah, so that's been the focus, my focus for the past really 3 years I've been working on this.
That's really, and more and more animated series are getting like the limelight nowadays, which I think it's a good thing.
So the streamers need content, and they, animation is fun, and people like, this is going to be a cool show too, because it's got an original song in every episode.
It's really, yeah. I'd like to talk more about it in the end to like the listeners and viewers, because I watched it a little bit from the trailer I've seen.
Yeah.
And it's really, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
So as a gamer,
yes,
I'm gonna dig more into personal life here.
Okay.
As a gamer, what is your favorite game? That's a hard question. I know.
Yeah, I go back and forth. I actually have a very unique experience with video games. I started playing video games back in the 1970s.
That is a long time ago.
Because I grew up in a town that had a big computer laboratory. So we used to play a game called Jabberwocky, which was it was a wireframed 3D monochrome dungeon crawl.
Wow.
And then the monster would pop up and it would say, "You have met a Bandersnatch," and there's the monster sitting there, and you have to use your sword, use your whatever. So, there are a lot of these older games that I really loved. They did a great John Carter of Mars game back in the early 90s, where you
That's
build a ship out of wood and you sail it to Mars and you fight
that's quite interesting.
yeah, there's been so many really kind of cool games that people have just forgotten about. They did a whole series called the Laura Bow Mysteries.
I don't even know about that.
Which there's no dialogue. This is
Yeah,
video
I
game
know. Like I
dialogue.
used to watch my dad play these games,
Yeah,
and he would just click, and then there would be like the character picture, and he just
right,
read through it, and then
right. And then
next
pop up with the
pop
text
up
and you
with the
read it.
text,
Yeah.
and you read it again, and it's
And you
like,
make your choice and you look for clues and it was, so those were really actually very exciting and a lot of fun. Once they started putting voices into games, I think the first game that I remember playing that really had voices in it was Mech Warrior.
I am Mech Warrior. I played one.
And that was my first video game job, actually, was doing some characters in the Ghost Bear Legacy expansion pack.
Wow.
And so one part of the deal was like, okay, well, give me the game. So they gave me the game and I played it, and it was, that was a lot of fun.
That is super. It's like, you better give me the game when it's done.
Yeah. But then, when we did, when Dune came out, when the original Dune game came out, and it was a turn-based strategy where you're mining spice and you're building your things and you're fighting the other AI houses, and Command and Conquer was great. EverQuest, when EverQuest started, I played that with a buddy of mine. And then World of Warcraft, we did City of Heroes. I think whatever I'm playing at the time is usually my favorite.
Yeah. Is there any games recently that you find your favorite as?
What have I was doing No Man's Sky for quite a while, which was fun because it's a really sort of a low conflict kind of game. And I wasn't in the mood for a lot of, high intensity stuff, but I still play Destiny 2.
That's amazing.
Which is a lot of fun. My oldest son just got the beta for the new Halo Online.
Wow.
Which looks kind of cool.
It looks cool. Like we've got a lot of Halo fans over here as well.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, in Halo Wars was actually fun, if you remember that one.
Yeah. Oh,
Halo Wars
didn't you play in one of the Halos? Yeah, I remember.
Halo Wars.
I don't know. Yeah, the ending, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe it. It's so cool because he barely speaks, and then when he does, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's my voice actor.
Yeah, no, Halo Wars was a lot of fun. I like games that make you think.
Yeah.
Nowadays
it's all just shoot, and it's some of them are quite meaningless in my opinion.
Well, and I like games that give you the white hat, black hat option.
Yeah.
I'm a white hat guy. I'm always going to do the moral thing.
Do the good thing.
And a friend of mine's like, well, why don't you just shoot them all? It's just a game. Who cares? I'm like, because I'd feel bad.
That is true.
That's why I don't just shoot the shopkeeper, because it would make me feel bad to do that.
It's like someone's getting angry at you, and you're like loading a previous save to like, what did I do to make them so angry?
Exactly.
Let me not make them angry right now.
Yeah. But no, Fallout 3 was one of my favorites, and then I loved New Vegas.
Yeah, New Vegas was great.
New Vegas was awesome. And I got all the DLCs for those. I like StarCraft was fun.
Yeah, StarCraft. Like, which Elder Scrolls would you say was your favorite?
Probably Oblivion.
Oh,
I really liked Oblivion.
Same, Oblivion. I don't know. There's just something about Oblivion that the others don't have.
It hit that sweet spot for me of being enough story driven, but enough open world that I could screw around doing, picking ingredients and making potions and whatnot. I liked the mechanics of the game, the way you did your crafting and you did your skill ups and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was, in my opinion, I think still like that is like the best one, just because it has that, I don't know even how to say it. It has that something that the others don't have.
Well, it was the first one really that had the open world for me.
Yeah.
Because if you go back and then you play Morrowind, everything's really enclosed.
Yeah.
You're always in a small area and it's, yeah.
So what I would really like is your opinion on Todd Howard importing Skyrim into literally everything.
I don't know about that.
And like every time a Skyrim just comes out, you think like you're getting a new Elder Scrolls, but then you're getting a new Skyrim edition.
I don't know about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you get Skyrim and then you get like the special edition. And now you've got the anniversary edition.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I think they've been putting a lot of their attention into the Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, yeah, right.
And that's, that takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost a whole separate business model in and of itself, as opposed to developing an offline RPG. And, let's face it, there's a lot more money in it.
There is.
So, and I'm afraid the same thing's going to happen to Fallout with 76. And, 76 is fun. And I played 76 and I've, done all my stuff and built my little house and got my Fallout shelter underneath it with all my trophies and stuff in it. And, but yeah, I'd like another game that I could just not have to worry about some guy coming along and
destroying everything.
Yeah, some guy came and started shooting my house the other day.
Oh my gosh.
Just Gatling lasering down my house. I'm like, what are you doing?
Some people aren't as moral.
And it's like, you can kill him. But then he just comes back and does it again.
Yeah, especially because you've killed him.
Right. So I just logged off.
Like, just angry, be like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah, I just switched servers and popped up on another server and it was fine. I had to rebuild some stuff, but like, wow, that's just really antisocial.
That is. Yeah. Right. So what was your most memorable time working in the industry? Like, do you have like stories about meeting people or crazy things happening?
I did an animated movie years ago that will never come out, unfortunately, which makes me sad because it was a great movie. It was a Spawn movie, if you know Spawn.
I don't know Spawn, unfortunately.
Todd McFarlane. It was a series. And I got to meet, Clancy Brown and Cree Summer, and Mark Hamill was working on it. And I didn't get to meet Mark.
Oh no, Mark Hamill?
Yeah.
Gotta meet that guy.
I know, right? And so a few years later, I'm doing another movie, Dante's Inferno, which was a movie, it was an anime movie based on the video game.
The video game.
But they hired 5 different animation studios to do each section.
That's a bit odd.
Different anime style. And it was really kind of cool. And I played Virgil, who guides Dante through the different layers of hell. And I'm sitting in the lobby and Mark Hamill walked in.
Oh my gosh.
And came over to talk to the production coordinator who I was sitting next to. He's like, oh, Everett, how are you? He goes, oh, and this is Peter. He goes, oh, Peter Jessop, hi. And I went,
I would be like, oh my God.
In my brain.
Darth Vader.
Oh my God. Luke Skywalker knows my name,
Luke Skywalker, are you kidding me?
Yeah. So, and I'm sure he doesn't even remember it because it's just another day for him. but that
How do
was,
you contain yourself? Like
it was
meeting
like,
such a
it was hard. It was really hard. And, so yeah,
oh my gosh.
but
I would be like screaming inside, be like, oh my
that was one of the
gosh.
big ones. Yeah. That was one of the big moments.
Wow. At any crazy things happening?
Crazy, like,
No, any sort of crazy, like something crazy during like recording time, or was it just all normal for you?
I don't think I've ever had any kind of weird stuff happen during a recording. We had an earthquake once during a session.
Oh,
But it was a small one.
oh,
It was over. We went back to
it
work.
was over.
So,
Back to recording.
yeah. So,
all right. So now you have done a lot of voices and a lot of characters, and sometimes people connect with these characters on their own level, and these characters help them through difficult times, I would say. How does it make you feel like having that impact on someone's life?
oh, I think it's marvelous. Anywhere someone can find a source of strength, I think that's a great thing.
It
And
is.
if and I'll use Paladin Dance as an example.
Yeah, he's a great example, to be honest.
One of the things about Paladin Dance is he's very emotionally intelligent.
He is.
He's very supportive. He's very understanding. He's sort of like the perfect boyfriend. And
he is.
that's if that's a comfort to somebody who's having a hard time, God bless him. That's great.
Yeah. Because I read through the community forums, like on Nexus mods and everything, and a lot of people find Paladin Dance as quite the inspiration, I guess, for his heroic acts, or the way he is, just his personality in general. So I thought this was like a good question to ask, because I'm also curious about how it makes like the voice actor feel.
No, it makes me very happy that's that it's had that effect on people.
Yeah, that's
really... all I did was read the lines.
Yeah, but still, sometimes the way you deliver the lines, really, it sticks. And sometimes there's a quote that sticks with people, and it helps them through those difficult times, just how it is.
And that's great. It's
the beauty of it.
Happy.
So what I would also like to know is which character, in your opinion, like besides Dance now, which one didn't you like? Because I know you love Dance. Everybody loves Dance. But now I want to know which one you don't like, to be honest.
That's a tough one. I did in Diablo 3, I play a pretty despicable dude. I'm the guy that basically creates the necromancer class, and I turn my student into a necromancer. And he was a pretty despicable dude. That was, it was an interesting role to play, but again, they wanted this voice. They wanted the guy.
That's a cool voice, though.
So that's what you do. And so, yeah, maybe that guy.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for like the aspiring voice actors and rock stars out there?
Read as much as you can. Like I said before, that voiceover is 90% reading comprehension. If they can hand you a script or a page from a script or whatever you're reading, and you can look at it and understand it right away, the faster you can process it and then make your decisions about what it means and how you're going to say it, that gives you a huge advantage.
Yeah, because it's all about reading and like receiving the context behind the context when it comes to voice acting
and interpretation. And if you can, if there's a line and you read it and you're like, what does that mean?
You have to take some time to get
It
through
takes you
that.
time, and you have to stop what you're doing, but if you look at it and you're like, oh, I get this. Okay.
Yeah.
This is how so that's a big thing. I think to take classes with people. There are so many great instructors. Um, if you really want to get into professional voiceover in the United States, you need to be in Los Angeles or New York.
Yeah, those are the places to be, basically.
Because that's where the work is. It's
Yeah.
been different with the pandemic because everything has sort of switched to remote. And I know there's a lot of anime that gets done out of Texas, but I'm a big fan of the product. I'm not a big fan of their process because it's all non-union, and I think they take advantage of their actors.
I would also think
that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I'd also think that would happen, and I think it happens quite a lot in the studios. I mean, any studios and any like entertainment industry. I mean, there's always a wolf behind the
Well, there's always a wolf,
process.
and that's why I'm a Screen Actors Union member, and one of the reasons that I am is because they can try to pull stuff, but if you've got every other actor that they're going to hire on your side,
they cannot pull that. It's not going to be easy for them to pull that.
Right. So it's about having somebody watching your back.
That's probably the best you can have nowadays. It's like someone watching your back, someone like with a cause.
Right. So
speaking of, is there any studio that you really liked working with and one you didn't? Well, I wouldn't say didn't really like. Let's just stick with the one you liked working with.
Yeah, it's there are. It depends. I mean, the different game companies. I mean, I've worked with Activision. I've worked with Obsidian. I've worked with Bungie. I've worked with really pretty much all of them as far as games go. Warner Brothers for the animated stuff has been fabulous. I do, for whatever reason, a lot of DC Comics stuff. I've been a couple of different Alien Green Lanterns. I've been Superman. I've been Dr. Volko. I've been what else did we do? Fatal 5. When we did the Fatal 5, I was
here we go.
Another one of those senior moments. The cyborg dude from the Legion of Superheroes.
I haven't watched Fatal 5, so I couldn't help you there.
Oh, it's fine. Anyway, but so I've got a chance to do a lot of stuff over there. Warner Brothers is always really great. And a lot of the game companies don't really have their own recording studios per se. You go to a studio.
Yeah, and then you have to record there.
You record at that studio with the people from the game company, and then they send it off and do the work there.
Well, that's quite interesting. I always thought that gaming studios have their own recording thing.
Well, they might, but if you've got Bungie games, they're based out of Seattle.
Oh,
the ones that do Destiny and Destiny 2. And it would be tough for everybody to fly up to Seattle, or
it would be
the whole cast based out of Seattle. So we do a session, and I go to a studio in Burbank or in Santa Monica or somewhere around Los Angeles, and they connect with us via an ISDN line, and I get the direction from them up in Seattle.
Wow.
And that's how we do it.
That's pretty interesting to know. Yeah. Like, I bet many people don't know like the different processes of recording. With that said, is there any game you would love to be a part of, like to be a voice actor in that game?
That I'm not in now.
Yes, that you're not in now.
That's a good question. I've been very fortunate in that I've had a chance to at least be, additional voices.
Yeah.
In stuff that I've liked. Game that's out now that I'm not in. Yeah, probably Overwatch. I played a lot of Overwatch for a while. Yeah. And that's a fun one.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, like that's pretty cool. I like that I could ask you these questions, dive more deep into, you as a person and all of this like professional gaming questions. Because I feel like a lot of the time people ask the same questions over and over again. And I really wanted this one to stand out, ask you things that has been on my mind as well, because I'm a very curious cat. I would like to know like everything. Now, on that note, I would like to talk about your upcoming animated series, New Wave. Could you tell me a little bit about it?
It's a show about the music scene in the early 1980s. My music writing partner was Iggy Pop's guitar player for many years.
Wow.
But before he made it successfully as a musician and I made it successfully as an actor, we were both in kind of crummy starter bands, high school and college. I gave it up and went into acting. He stuck with it and made a career out of music.
Wow.
But we had the same stories. We were sitting around having lunch one day, talking about when we were back in bands. And I was like, and we must have gone through 3 keyboard players. And he's like, oh my God, yeah, we have the same problem.
Wow.
So, we've got, we started swapping stories about bands. And I'm like, well, I've had this idea to do a show about the music scene in the 1980s. And he said, that's a great idea. We could write songs for it.
Wow, there you have it.
Every episode's got an original song. We got about 20 of those.
So that is what inspired you to write this?
Yeah. We basically made up a band based on our friends. We've got 2 bands, actually. There's a band that's 4 guys, and then there's a band that's 5 girls.
Wow.
And the girl band is amazing. Like I was mentioning before, we've got Kari Walgren.
Courtney Taylor.
Well, Courtney's not going to be singing as part of the band. Courtney plays the girlfriend of the main character in the guy band.
Oh.
And she's actually the smartest one in the room.
I know. This sounds interesting, right? Already.
Yeah. So the girls are they're sort of an established band in the city. We never find out what city it is.
Oh.
And the guys are getting together and they're starting a band. So the girls kind of give them advice, and they get better. And the band gets better. And there are so many great characters. The guy band is Yuri Lowenthal, me, a guy named Alex Tabor, and OG Banks are the 4 guys in the guy band. Armin Taylor is the voice of the talking pug.
Wow.
The drummer has a pug that talks.
Well, I thought that was you.
No, that's Armin Taylor.
Wow. Like, reference to the pug. Does that a reference to your dog in real life?
It actually is.
Wow.
I've actually got 3 pugs.
Yeah, I saw. They're adorable.
Yeah,
my dad is also like this huge pug fan, and
my wife is the big pug fan. I love my dogs. I would have picked a bigger dog, but they're awesome.
So there we go. That's really cool.
Yeah, but so that's Armin. I'm the English guy at the beginning.
What was his name? Mitch?
Noah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like, I look forward to this animated series. I mean, having all of your like favorite voice actors come together in a show. Yeah. That's really awesome.
Well, so it's been a lot of fun just even reading through the script with them and that kind of thing.
Yeah, considering you guys have also been longtime friends.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
Well, that was another reason why I started the project was, it's like, I want to do a cool project where I can just call my friends up and say, hey, I've got a part for you on the show. Let's go do it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And we ended up trying to crowdfund it. We haven't been able to really get any meetings with studios.
That's so odd. Social
Well,
media is an odd thing.
it is. It is an odd thing. You know, I don't know how to crack that nut. People can come. We've got a Kickstarter page where we're trying to, get people to join us and be backers on this project.
Yeah, I'm gonna list it in the article, because I'm really interested in this animated series, and I do think it's a fabulous idea, and it's very like original. And not to mention, I love 80s rock music. It's just 70s, 80s rock music. Those are like the best.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun show. There's a Scooby-Doo episode.
Wow.
There's an episode where they wake up one morning and it's the 1960s.
Wow.
And they have to be a 60s band. There's an episode, and you're probably too young to know about this, but there was a period of about 6 months in 1986, I think, when Zydeco music.
What is Zydeco music?
Exactly, right?
What is Zydeco music?
It's Cajun music from Louisiana, near New Orleans. And it's a very specific kind of Cajun music. It's a Creole music. And all the restaurants started serving Cajun food, everything, and then 6 months later, poof, it was gone. Paul Simon did a song based on it.
So what do you think? Why did it just disappear like that?
It was a fad.
Or like just a phase.
It had been around forever, for years and years and years, locally in parts of Louisiana, and it just suddenly popped into national prominence, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is cool. Okay, that's it."
And then it was forgotten again.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't even think about the fact that people under probably 40 have never heard of it.
Even me, I was like, "What is that?"
Yeah. So. But there's an episode where they get stuck in a swamp in Louisiana and they have to do it. So we wrote a Zydeco song.
That's like that. This sounds really interesting because you're going through all of these musical phases.
Well, that's the thing. We wanted to get an example of all these different kinds. So there's going to be a synth duo song.
That's really
there's
awesome.
Going to be a Duran Duran kind of song. There's going to be a, we're paying a loving tribute to all the different musical styles that were going on back in the 80s. And that was the cool thing about the music scene back then was there wasn't a single tent pole. Back in the 60s, you had the Beatles.
Yeah.
And everybody else was either trying to be the Beatles or trying not to be the Beatles. But whatever you did, the Beatles were part of the equation.
They were.
Once the 80s rolled around, there was nobody like that.
Yeah, it was all new.
So everybody kind of got to go off in their own directions. And you got
I think that's what made the 80s the 80s,
Exactly.
It was crazy. You could just do whatever. Like the world is your oyster.
The Cure didn't sound like Duran Duran, who didn't sound like They Might Be Giants, who didn't sound like Devo, who, nobody, they were all doing their own thing.
That really opened the door to the music industry. It was like the 80s. There's a lot of genres coming in. It's
huge explosion in different stylistic things. Yeah. So we're going to try and explore all of that.
That is amazing.
The girls in the girl group are all amazing singers.
Wow.
So we're really going to start, buckling down and getting some good stuff together for them. And, if we can get the pilot put together and get it produced and get it out there,
I think it will be a big hit, in my opinion.
I hope we can get somebody to pick it up and we can start doing a series. And
also, the retro phase is coming all back nowadays. It's starting to be a trend again.
Oh, yeah. My kids are in their early 20s and they all love 80s music.
Yeah, I think nowadays also.
My middle son loves 60s music more than 80s music. He's the outlier.
He sounds like
the other two. But the other two.
Yeah, because like I said, nowadays the music, everything in my opinion sounds the same. It's just everyone kind of have the same voice. They have the same kind of style. There isn't a song that wowed me in quite a few years.
Yeah, Yeah, and the thing is, that music, popular music particularly, goes through
Mm,
phases like that. And in the 70s, it all started to sound the same. You had Kansas and Boston and the
AC/DC.
Eagles, and they all kind of sounded, very similar. And then punk rock blew everything up.
Yeah, that was like
And then
so
it
different.
it sort of imploded, but from the wreckage of that, from the bits and pieces that had flown out of that supernova, other stars formed, and you got new wave. You got bands like Susie and the Banshees, who were part of the original punk, but they really weren't that punk. You got
Yeah.
Adam and the Ants, and you got Devo, and you got, all of this kind of. Billy Idol was in a
Oh,
punk
yeah.
band called Generation X. Uh, they were, and they all moved on to other stuff, and everybody started doing their own thing.
But that's what's
And that's,
amazing.
yeah, that's what I love about that whole period.
Yeah, like 80s music. I've even to this day, nothing can compare.
Well, but then again, towards the end of the 80s, it all started to sort of mush together into kind of a generic MTV thing.
Yeah.
And then the Pixies happened. And they sort of turned everything on its ear and led indirectly to the whole grunge scene, which then revitalized music. And then grunge got stale. And I don't know what ever really took over after that.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know. I don't listen to much modern music, you know.
yeah.
I'm more of an oldies kind of thing. Not even that. I even go as far back to listening to like Glenn Miller. I love orchestra.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, it's just there's just something about it. Right. And what I also would like to know is more of you as a person, because there are some fans out there who's curious,
Mhm.
as I am. What are your
Okay.
hobbies?
Well, I play video games.
Yeah, well,
Um,
that's given.
I play guitar, um, and write songs. That's a new thing, the writing songs. I'd
The
never really
writing
tried
songs
that until a
part.
couple of years ago. Um, what other hobbies? I build guitars.
Wow.
So I got started doing that a few years ago with my youngest son. We built him a Telecaster, and then built him another guitar later. Haven't really been doing much of that lately. I read a lot. That's probably my favorite hobby is reading.
That's probably why you're
Um,
such an excellent voice actor, besides the voice.
well, that has led me. When I was a kid, that was what I did. When I was a
That's
little kid,
just
they would
reading.
find me in the classroom sitting behind we had like a wall of bins that you come and you'd put your lunchbox and your school supplies in and whatnot. And it's like math would be starting. It's like, where's Peter? And I'd be hiding behind there reading a book.
Just
So
reading. Cannot get angry at a child for reading a book behind
yeah,
it.
well, they sure could. Um, so that's been my big thing. I play Dungeons and Dragons sometimes, which is fun. It's harder to do in a pandemic.
Yeah, because not many people around to play with.
Well, and you can't have them over. You got to do it on a computer. So
Yeah. We're
we've been
lucky
doing
this
that.
side, you know, the pandemic isn't as rough here.
Yeah.
So it's okay. And considering I forgot to ask you about the rock part, what is your favorite band? You know, rock band, I would say.
Um, I don't really have one, but I would say
Yeah,
probably
of
the
course.
Beatles.
Beatles.
I grew up in the 70s, so I really missed Beatlemania. Uh, but for me, it was the discovery of, oh, there's a Beatle album I've never heard of.
It's like,
And
oh my gosh,
I
it's
bought
new.
Rubber Soul. I got Beatles for sale. Ooh, what's this? And so I got to discover all of their songs, not necessarily in order, um, but it was kind of a cool journey. I think as a younger person, Elvis Costello was a huge influence on me. Um, Modern stuff, I love Radiohead, um, the Fratellis, the whole Scott rock kind of thing.
Would you say that rock is one of your favorite genres?
Yeah, it's my favorite genre. Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I enjoy classical music. I was when I was a kid playing piano and learning violin and then viola. I was a big Bach fan, um, and enjoyed Mozart quite a bit because they're fun to play.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would say I'm a rock fan more than anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just something about rock that just, I don't know, it just gives you that feeling. I'm a huge
Yeah.
rock fan. I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. Hopefully in the future I'll be one of those rock stars. Right. Last but not least, I would say, is if you could do anything else besides acting and voice acting, what would it be?
I'd probably be a writer.
Because you like reading, so you would write
Yeah, I
books.
mean, I'd have to do something. I need to be making something. I need to be creating something. This is a part of the way I'm built. And one of the reasons that I spent so much time working on this animated project is I wasn't really creating anything. I wasn't really doing anything. There were larger and larger gaps between voiceover jobs happening for whatever reason at the time. And I was like, I'm really getting frustrated artistically. I need to do something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'd probably want to tell stories.
Well, you can still write. I mean, there's nothing
Right.
stopping
And
you.
I have been. I'm just saying, if I couldn't
Wow.
be a voice actor, if I
Writer
lost my
would be
voice
it.
forever today, I'd probably be a writer.
That's pretty cool. Do you have any books out?
I do not. I have never finished one.
Wow.
I've
Here
started
we
a
go.
couple. They're well on their way. It's just I've never gotten to the point where I've been comfortable enough to send them off to somebody. So
No, that's understandable.
And who knows? I'll turn them into animated series soon.
Hey, you seem to be good at that. I mean, you've got some pretty interesting ideas.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you so much for being here with me today and answering all of my bazillion questions.
It's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.